Let's now take a look at my two favorite ways to add color to nearly white areas of the sky. You can see that the sky here is fairly washed out, but there is a little bit of underlying color. We could open up a curves layer, and inside the curves layer, grab a brighter midtone and simply drag it down, which does a great job of adding drama to the sky, a lot of color in areas that are brighter midtones. But what it's not doing, notice the center here. If we click on the targeted adjustment tool, now as we hover, we get this little pointer showing us where we are on the curve. We're so close to white that it's very hard to bring down this point in the curve. If we wanted to, we could go and try and adjust that by bringing it further down. So we can darken this, but a couple of things happen. One, it's not a very natural result, even in the area we're trying to adjust. And two, the rest of the image just completely falls apart. So I love curves for things that aren't too close to white. It adds a lot of drama and pop to the image, but it doesn't quite get at the center here. And if you're trying to make this center darker, you're going to need instead to switch over to brightness contrast. The brightness slider in here is probably the closest thing we have to an exposure slider within Photoshop. Watch what happens when we bring this down. The center of this is regaining color that simply does not exist in the curves. So bringing down brightness maybe 50 to 100 points is a great way to restore color in the center there. However, we have lost contrast. It doesn't have the same pop as this other version. Let's put these head to head. I'm going to duplicate this layer, put it underneath brightness contrast, group them, and turn everything on. So now we can compare the brightness version versus the curves version. And in this case, I like the curves version better. It adds a lot of drama to the image, but if the goal was to restore some area that was kind of blown out, brightness contrast is a better job. Brightness contrast is a better shot at bringing back that detail. We could also go in there and try and bump its contrast. And as we do that, let's see what we get when we compare these results. And they're fairly similar. So at some point, you have to decide, what do you want? Do you want to have that drama, or do you want to really bring back the brightest parts of the image? With these two tools, you have great ways to do them. Brightness contrast is probably the simplest tool for most people to understand. It's generally going to give you exactly what you need. I'm oftentimes not getting very fancy with curves when I'm restoring highlight color.